Hello and welcome to Post Game Theory. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, we're going to go back in time a little bit. Obviously, this is coming a little bit earlier in the evening than what it normally does, but we're going to go back in time. We're going to talk about Austin Reaves and Victor Wembanyama's games on Christmas. We're going to talk about Tyler Herro's really fun, fight-inducing game against the Houston Rockets last night. And then we're going to talk about Ajay Mitchell, a rookie for the Oklahoma City Thunder that is having a really, really fun season on a two-way contract. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown. Bang! Bang! What's this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Hello and welcome to the Post Game Theory show. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. We're going a little bit early tonight. I have to get back into the swing of things on how to remember to do these things because it's been about a month or so, not a month, probably a week and a half since we've done one of these. And it's a little bit earlier. Why are we going a little bit earlier while there are NBA games on right now? It's because, in all honesty, it's New Year's Eve here. And at some point I am going to want to, go out. I might want to go hit golf balls before we go out for the evening here, my wife and I wanted to break down some tape and wanted to do some videos on Austin Reaves and Victor Wembanyama from Christmas. I wanted to do a video on Tyler Herro's really, really fun game last night. It's been a fun week in the NBA. I haven't been quite as engaged just because of the family stuff and everything. But yesterday, Bryce and I, we talked through the Mike Brown firing. We talked through the Dorian Finney-Smith for D'Angelo Russell deal. You can go to the YouTube channel, look at all of our thoughts on those things, as well as a really, really fun trivia segment that we did as well that Bryce created. Shout out to Bryce Simon, my partner in crime over here on the channel. As always, these post-game theories are going to be YouTube exclusives. They will not go up on the podcast feed. Why? Because we're just breaking down tape here. That's the reality. We're going to dive in. We're going to talk in depth about things that are going to be happening on the screen. So it doesn't really work as an audio product, unfortunately. So let's talk through this. Let's jump in and get right to Austin Reaves on Christmas, because that's the one that was really, really fun. Obviously, the Lakers have an enormous win, 115-113 against Golden State in what was probably the most fun game of the NBA season that I can remember, at least. You got these amazing Stephen Curry runs near the end of the game. He hits this ridiculous corner three-pointer where I can't even believe he got his feet set before he threw the ball up. He had another three from like 30 feet where Reaves and I think it was Max Christie screw up kind of a switch there, and he gets just like wide open. And then Reaves comes down, makes a layup to win the game, 115-113 for the Lakers. And the reason I want to talk about Reaves is twofold. First, awesome game on Christmas. Anthony Davis goes down like 7 or 8 minutes into this game. Reaves steps up, goes for 26 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. Second, Reaves has been awesome since he got back from that hip contusion that he had. I think he had like a hip contusion or a pelvic contusion, whatever they're going to refer to it as. Missed like 6 or so games. Since he's been back, Austin Reaves is averaging 20 points, 6 rebounds, 7.4 assists, shooting 45, 39, 83. And I think that his little run here is probably the big reason why they felt comfortable being able to deal D'Angelo Russell. I think that the way Reaves has played over the course of this little run here has made him look like a top half of the league starting point guard. Like, forget him being a 2 guard or like a combo guard like he plays normally. I've long assumed that Austin could play point guard based off of his vision, based off of his creativity and ball screens. And we're finally getting a chance to see that a little bit more often during the course of this run. And I'm really excited just to kind of dive in and talk through why I think Reaves has been so good recently. The other thing I'm going to say too is I thought a lot of his best passes in this game actually didn't end up going for assists, which was really, really fun. So while we're here, Lawrence Field asks, Austin went to Oklahoma. Do you think there's a Sooner who will get drafted this year? Boy, do I, and Jeremiah Fears. I'm probably a little bit lower than the rest of the internet on Jeremiah Fears. We'll talk about that maybe with Bryce on the Thursday show. But I am definitely intrigued by the fact that he can seemingly get to the rim whenever he wants. He's a guy that I am desperate to watch an SEC play whenever their schedule starts to heat up a little bit more. But let's talk about Austin Reaves here. All right. So as usual, we're just going to go through all of the relevant plays that Reaves had in this game. I've pulled the tape. We're going to dive in. So this one, Reaves headband versus headband matchup here with Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder's going to try and drive him baseline. Look, Austin Reaves is not the fastest guy in the world. He's not the best defender in the world. I generally think Austin does a pretty good job on defense of kind of sending guys where he needs to send them and sending them into the help or sending them baseline. I think that he is really, really good at using his size at 6'5" and using his overall just ability to be bigger than most of the guys that he ends up guarding at the lead guard spot to force players in a certain direction. I think he has a really, really good sense of how to use his body. He's just not overly strong, and he's not capable of being particularly physical on the NBA level. He doesn't shy away from contact, but he's just not super, super strong yet. And I doubt he'll ever be super strong. With this one, forces Schroeder baseline. Trace Jackson Davis helps, or cuts in here. You're just going to see Reaves swat down on this ball. He's going to get it, and then he's going to go. This pass, look, as we talked about on the show yesterday, I am generally more of a fan of Rui as a guy who comes off the bench. I think his game makes a little bit more sense there, and I think that the Dorian Finney-Smith edition is more about bringing Finney-Smith in for Rui as a starter than it is for bringing him in as a starter for Max Christie. Finney-Smith is more of a guy who guards like 3, 4, 5 at this point, as opposed to like 2 through 4, for instance, is a switchable defender. But Finney-Smith is super sharp rotationally defensively. Rui, I think, just as a kid that didn't grow up playing basketball and, is from Japan, I don't think the game comes as naturally to him as it does for some guys. And this one's kind of a prime example to me of this. It's not like the biggest deal in the world, but it does result in a turnover. To me, he just kind of slows up here, right? And he stands right up for some reason. Austin's clearly going to try and feed him. All he has to do is keep beating Buddy Hield down the court here. Or Dennis Schroeder, I'm sorry. He has the angle. He has the body to be able to cut off Schroeder. And instead, he just kind of slows down. I think that pass is where it has to be, if I'm being honest. And I think that in general, people will look at Rui and say, oh, he's shooting, 40 odd % from 3 this year. But he does it on like 3 attempts per game and doesn't really get guarded out there. That's kind of the difference between somebody like him and Dorian Finney-Smith. Finney-Smith is 31 years old. He's hitting 42% from 3 this year. But opponents take him seriously as a shooter. Rui, in my opinion, they don't really take seriously as a shooter, especially because Rui takes forever to get the shot off and because he tends to catch and hold the ball. That's honestly the thing that drives me craziest with Rui is the fact that he catches and holds the ball. All this is fine. Rui is definitely a rotation player in the NBA, but I think he's better as like a 6th or 7th man. Reaves, I think, does a good job of actually forcing the steal, getting the ball into an area where Rui should be able to run onto it. Rui just slowed up a second earlier, and it results in a turnover. Actually, no, it resulted in a foul. I'm sorry. They kind of gave Rui a bailout call there. Now we get Austin coming downhill. This is on Buddy Hield. The thing about Reaves that I really appreciate is that he doesn't really have to slow down to cross over a lot of the time. His handle is, I don't know that I'd say his handle is tight, but it's quite creative, I think. And he's able to just cross very quickly and get downhill and be able to force these angles. And he also, as you see here, really knows how to use his shoulders well to be able to create that little bit of separation. So he creates that separation here, kind of loses the ball as he goes up, finishes at the rim. Really sharp. First two of the game. This one, simple, right? Now we're just getting into it. Again, wouldn't say he has like the tightest handle in the world here. Like he ends up kind of taking this like extra little step here. But he has a quick release on the jumper. Uses his shoulders well to kind of hesitate, make it seem like he's going to go down this way as Connect is cutting to the rim. Connect has to be accounted for by one of these two guys. As soon as Reaves sees both of their shoulders go back, like this, you can see that he's literally going to decide to just pull here. Their momentum is going backward, momentum going backward. He feels it. He sees it. He stops, pops, drills the three. His feel for the game as a ball handler is just really, really high level. So this one, kind of a side ball screen here. He's going to go baseline. He's going to get blocked. Keeps his eyes up, consistently looking for the open players. Again, not like an overly vertical player. Trace Jackson Davis is able to get him here. But you immediately see him catch it, not quit on the play, and then he's looking out this way. He's looking out for a kick out because he feels 1, 2, 3 defenders in here versus only one of his teammates being in here. So that means somebody has to be open. In this case, it ends up being that his first look is right. He's looking here where the help has come from. That means the most likely area to be open is Christie on the wing. He kind of carves out space, whips this ball out. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Awesome transition player as well. I think he does a great job of using his balance at a really high level. This is one where I think you would assume that Pods is like a decent matchup for him physically. He's just not. He's not strong enough for Reaves. Reaves can just kind of move these guys where he needs to and get to the spots he wants to. Guys like Schroeder, guys like Pods. Here, you get to kind of see the body control and the coordination that I think makes Reaves really, really special as a scorer and in this mid-range area. If you remember Reaves at Oklahoma, he was actually kind of a mid-range killer and like a driver as opposed to like a three-point shooter, right? It was really funny. Like at Wichita State, he was more of like a three-point shooter in his first 2 years and made like 40% because he mostly shot catch and shoot threes. Then at Oklahoma, he took a ton more pull-ups and was a lot more on the ball. And you got to see him drive and create and be the player that we've seen in the NBA a little bit more often. In large part to me, it's because of this balance, right? So you just look at how he's able to absorb this contact and kind of reposition himself. Yeah, he's fading away here, but look at how his body isn't leaning one way. It's not leaning to the left. It's really straight up and down. And he's able to maintain that touch because of that strength through contact. Put it softly up off the backboard, knock down the shot. These are just really, really fun sets that the Lakers love to run. These little DHO reject plays, right? So sideline out of bounds play. LeBron's going to set a screen for Reaves here. Reaves is going to go get the ball. Max Christie comes around. Reaves hesitates like he's going to dribble handoff this ball. Curry is going to follow Christie here. Wiggins is going to just have that little momentary step where he thinks he might have to get out to Christie. He's going to get down on his heels a little bit, and then Reaves is going to be able to attack and get downhill. Really good spacing here as well. On this action, both guys in the corners. Plays like this are why Dalton Connect is really valuable to me, because the automatic obvious help here should be coming from the opposite corner. But because Connect is such a good shooter, Pods really does have to stay attached here for a little bit longer. Curry's going to have to kind of X out down to Connect here. But it doesn't matter. They end up, by the time that Pods helps, because of that late reaction, Reaves is already at the rim. It's an easy finish. Really good play design, really good architecture there from JJ Redick and the coaching staff. Really, really sharp play. Here, end of the second quarter. Ball screen from LeBron. This was, to me, probably Reeves' best pass. There's one other one later that I thought was really, really high level. This is not a complicated action here. We've got Draymond Green guarding Max Christie. Draymond is a player that, by and large, and teams can scout for this and prepare for this, and once you've played Draymond, you know what the deal is. He's going to play on the opposing team's probably worst player, unless you have to have him guard LeBron on specific possessions, and he's going to be a help defense menace. He's been this way for a decade, right? So here, Wiggins gets onto Reaves. Reaves just with the overall hip flexibility here too. Remember how I said he doesn't really have to slow down as much to cross over as often? That's because his hips are extremely flexible. He's able to kind of find these little creases that other guys can't. If you have stiff hips kind of through your midsection, you're not going to be able to stop here and then kind of continue to go left and then straight downhill. It's going to be much, much harder for guys like him. Reaves goes up like he's going to go for this shot. Green helps over, given that it's a scramble situation. Austin sees it. And he just hits this wide open kick out here. Process is really sharp here. Good eye manipulation. Christie just doesn't make the shot, unfortunately. 8 minutes left in the third now. Again, hockey assist, really good pass here. Early offense. Again, Draymond is going to help. He's going to be there, and they're going to scramble around. Even at this point here, Reeves' eyes are still looking at the rim, which makes Draymond go up for this shot. But Reeves is able to stop, survey, hit the kick out, hits the hockey assist here. Vincent down to Christie. Again, can't make him for him, right? But that's good offensive execution. This, to me, is kind of the shot where if he gets this really consistently, it's going to be exceptionally difficult to stop Austin Reaves. He has this little teardrop floater that he can make from time to time, but it doesn't feel like he makes it quite often enough. He's going to make one later in this game, but if you look at it, the numbers, he's at 45% this year on floaters. It's a solid number. Not an amazing number, but it's a number that's good enough, right? Last year, he was at 53%. The year before that, he was at, 50%. If this can be a consistent 50 to 55% shot like it was the previous 2 years, that's where he gets really, really lethal. So far this year, it's been a little bit lower. He hasn't made them quite as consistently. But man, this is a tough shot to stop. What I love about this one, too, is the way he sets up his defender, Kuminga, here. Puts the ball in his left hand as LeBron is coming up for the screen. Sees Kuminga jump this way. They want to try and ice this ball screen, this empty side action. And as soon as he sees it, he just gets downhill and rejects it with a quick cross, gets downhill. Again, really good at finding these little creases through defenders with Wiggins and Kuminga there. Uses those hips to be able to get through. Stops before Draymond can get there. Probably a touch off balance compared to what he typically is in this spot. Man, if he can make that over 50% of the time, he's going to be a really, really tough guard. And he's done it before. If he can get that shot back to where it's been the last couple of years, he is a difficult guy to stop. He is probably a 20-point per game scorer at that point, consistently. Here, I just love what he's looking at defensively. Again, doesn't have like the most physical tools on defense, right? So here he is picking up Curry in transition. LeBron kind of sinks off to help because he's dealing with Draymond as the trailer, which means he can kind of help off onto Steph. Makes sense to me. You always want to double the team's best player if you can in these situations. They just decide to switch it and leave LeBron there. Reaves ends up kind of deciding to be cognizant of Curry here after he crosses and kind of opens up this angle, knowing that you don't want Christie to have the same side help off of Wiggins. That's a 40% three-point shooter. Maybe you could have Rui help off, but I don't really always trust Rui's defensive rotations. And here he helps in, then gets back here and just walls up against Draymond. Draymond tries to go into his chest. Nothing doing. Misses the shot. Rebound. Fast break pass. We're out. It's great work. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Here, double ball screen at the top. This was actually my favorite pass of the day. And again, just ends up being a miss. This is the one I was referring to earlier when I said I think he has only maybe one other better one. So Reaves sets a little rub screen there for connect. Then he's going to flip around and set this little double screen, sort of a double dragon transition, right, for Reaves. Trace Jackson-Davis has to be accountable here as the drop defender because Wiggins is back on Reaves' hip. Rui gets behind him. Kuminga has to help up. It's going to leave Reddish wide open. Reaves sees it. And just zips this ball out to Reddish. Look at the accuracy on this thing. Look at the velocity. Right in the shooter's pocket. Real velocity on the ball. It's perfect. Can't make it for him. He had 10 assists. He could have had way more in this game. Simple one. Rui drills this three. Rui, I think, ended up making like 5 threes in this game. Yeah, all this is simple step-up screen. Floats it into a pick and pop. Reaves does a great job drawing both defenders here. Hield has to make a choice. Okay, do I fully close out here? Because if I do that, he should just be able to zip this ball over to connect? Or do I kind of stay in the gap? He decides to stay in the gap. This is kind of what I'm referring to in terms of like Rui not getting treated like a real shooter. This is like actually like a really prime example of it, where opponents will make decisions on who they have to leave open in help situations from time to time. They very clearly are making a decision here, like, okay, this is the shot we're comfortable with, as opposed to this shot here with connect. Now, if I was Buddy and if I was Golden State, I probably would want to close out there, if only because Wiggins can shoot up here, and then you can hopefully get this X out from Trace Jackson Davis if you need a late closeout onto Cam Reddish. But really what I'd want from Trace isn't even a full X out. I'd just say, okay, go into the lane here and just be available in case Cam Reddish decides to drive. But because they have multiple non-shooters on the court, or questionable shooters, let's go with, maybe not non-shooters, I think I would be a little bit more comfortable with a full closeout here from Hield. But you understand why this is kind of the prime example of Rui not getting treated like a shooter all the time, and why Dorian Finney-Smith might be a little bit better of an option. Rui makes this shot, but he hasn't always been the best three-point shooter throughout the course of his career, and he hasn't always been the most willing to take them throughout the course of his career either. Is kind of the critical thing. He's hitting 45% from three this year, and he's only taking 3.6 per game. It says to me he's taking the open ones, realistically. And by the way, the year before that, he hit 42% last year, but the year before that, he was at 32%. In his first 4 years in the NBA, Rui made, let's see here, 34.7 from three. And that includes like a huge jump year in his third season for Washington. Maybe you could say that the fourth season at 32% is the outlier now, but given the volume and the fact that he only takes wide open ones, don't know totally how I feel about that. Perfect pass, though, from Reaves. Perfect way to draw the double. Here, just a quick little ghost action. He's going to drill this. This is the kind of stuff you can do with Reaves because he is a very capable catch and shoot shooter. Comes up here like he's going to set a screen, then just exits. Schroeder stays attached for just that extra split second up here. Christie gets it to Reaves. This is just enough time for him to get loose. Simple action. Simple shot. Knocks it down. I love the process there. Horn set. Dribble handoff. Connect to Reaves. Now we're starting to get hot. Notice, by the way, I believe that's 2 consecutive possessions here. Horn set, for people who are new here, 2 at the elbows, foul line extended area, 2 in the corners. Connect comes up here, gets the ball, runs the DHO. A lot of different ways you can do this after the entry into these guys at the top. Sometimes Reaves will go away. Sometimes he'll do what he does here, try and get downhill off of the dribble handoff. Tries to get downhill. Quick cross to get back. That is a lot of separation there against Dennis Schroeder, who has long arms, but is like 6'1". He's here. This is a big window. Reaves steps into it, knocks it down. Easy. Koloko screen, step up, kick out. Again, can't make it for him. I thought Reaves' best passes today, or on Christmas, I guess, were the ones where he was driving and kicking, and he didn't end up actually getting an assist for them. So step up here from Koloko. Lakers generally have kind of simplified their offense a little bit more as compared to what they were running early in the season, where I felt like they were running a ton of actions. I would kind of like to see them get into a little bit more like stack action. I think consistently that is one thing where really I feel like they can be effective. I don't know totally what the numbers say, but I feel like anecdotally just watching their games, stack actions, especially with LeBron and AD and Reeves, as two of the three players within the stack, really end up scoring at a high rate. I would be interested to know the numbers if somebody has those. Again, you're going to kind of get to see here, not the most, like, not the tightest ball handler. Like, Healed here is able to kind of get his hand in, I think, and just kind of bat this ball a bit. But he has awesome hand-eye coordination. He ends up getting his right hand back on this ball, recovers it with the left, then throws this beautiful little wraparound here after Pods kind of sinks in. He just is always kind of available. He has innate feel for the game that you can't really teach. I think he is just an outstanding passer and playmaker overall. This one was kind of coming off of like a weird timeout where we didn't get to see how the play kind of operated and started. I am going to guess, given the way that this does start, that LeBron set a screen maybe like here. Draymond kind of got out early. And Draymond getting out early while Wiggins kind of getting caught on this screen here ends up opening this massive pocket. Reeves sees this pocket, drills the pass into LeBron. LeBron through contact. Great work. Easy bucket right through Kuminga's chest. Again, I don't think the Pods is a great matchup onto Reeves, despite the fact that they are similarly athletic. Reeves just kind of separates here. They end up having to peel switch it because Pods gets caught on this screen. You can see Draymond here communicate the peel. He says, stay, stay, stay. Pods stays. Reeves just crosses here. It's a big window. If he can make that shot, again, Lakers' ceiling totally changes if he can make that shot. This year, Reeves is shooting 38% on pull-up threes. It's a great number. It's a really, really good number. If he can hit it at that number consistently, he's a real 20-point per game scorer. This is beautiful. Just steps into one right. They make it a little too easy here. You see Rui kind of filter through the play here. That forces Healed up, or is that Schroeder? One of Schroeder or Healed. Might be Schroeder. LeBron sees the kick out, passes over the top to the corner. Wiggins shoots down to try and X out. That's going to leave Trace Jackson Davis on to Reeves. But when Vincent pump fakes and attacks here, Trace feels like he has to go. And as soon as literally the second that Vincent sees Trace shoot down, he hits this kick out to Reeves. It's perfect basketball. Absolutely perfect. 3, nails it. 4 minutes left in the game. We're starting to really get down to a tough moment. 6-point lead for the Lakers. This is the teardrop floater he makes. 8-point lead for the Lakers with 4 minutes left. Nothing too complicated about this one. I like that he continues to filter through into the paint here instead of spotting up. He kind of sees that Vincent has continued to filter through and is acting almost as like a lead blocker, for instance, in football. This really kind of ends up being a 2-on-3 here, where he's got 2 defenders here for 1, 2, 3. He's just trying to figure out, okay, is Trace going to come up and try and block my shot? If so, I'm going to get this to Gabe Vincent. Is Schroeder going to come over and try and swipe at the ball? If not, okay, cool. If he does, I'm going to get this ball out to Max Christie. Nobody really attaches, comes out, teardrop floater, drills it. 2 minutes left, still an 8-point game. Ball screen. What are we in now? We're in a 4-on-3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Versus 1, 2, 3. So he's just looking here to see, what are these defenders going to do? How are they going to play me? Wiggins is going to be the one to step up. Okay, cool. I'm going to shoot this ball out to Rui. But wait. Schroeder, as soon as he sees Wiggins step up, does an amazing job of closing out here this angle onto Rui, which means Reaves has to stop and pivot. Kick out to Vincent, kick out to Christie. I like the process there. I think the process totally works. I think it's sharp. Just didn't work out. And then the Warriors go on their crazy run. And now 6 seconds left. I mean, this is just a beautiful play. I love these plays that teams are running now, where it's basically like kind of a weird like scissors action where, let's draw a better arrow for Gabe Vincent so you can see the scissors. So there's 1, there's 2. LeBron kind of filters through. Reaves is going to come down here, try to set this little rub screen here for LeBron to come around. Draymond does an amazing job on LeBron here. So Reaves just comes and he's the safety outlet to the ball. And now we're just one-on-one against Andrew Wiggins. And I think that this play is a really great example of the leverage and bend that Reaves plays with that we haven't really talked about yet. I think Reaves often looks like a player who doesn't play with great bend because he often hunches his back over, right? It's pretty normal to see his back kind of hunched like this. But it actually kind of underrates the level of leverage that he's able to play with bend through his lower half and through his legs. Like, he is great at using these legs to drive off of, bending his knees, getting through the play, getting lower than a guy in Andrew Wiggins who has kind of high hips. He's a really good defender. I wouldn't say he's a great defender. He's a really good defender by and large, but you can leverage him. And Reaves here does a great job leveraging him. One hand gather here up to the rim, inside hand, makes it so that Wiggins in his recovery isn't going to be able to go and get this ball, goes up quick. It's perfect. A well-deserved game winner. Curry throws one up at the end that ends up being really tight. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Now, in terms of like what the Lakers should be doing now that they have Dorian Finney-Smith, the thing that I said yesterday was, look, like, I think Reaves can handle the point guard position, but I worry about them having enough ball handling in the 35 minutes when Reaves is off the court. That would be my main worry. Those are 13 minutes that could really crush you in a game, could really cause you problems in a game, in a playoff game, in a big moment. I do think they have to go and they have to get somebody. But overall, I do think that between staggering LeBron and Reaves enough, you can probably mix and match it to a point where it works. But the problem with that then is that you're having many more minutes, let's say, probably 12 minutes. You're probably having 24 minutes a game, basically, where LeBron and Austin Reaves are not on the court together, and they work really well together because Reaves's IQ and his feel for the game really blends well with LeBron's IQ and feel for the game. So given that, you're kind of probably limiting yourself at that point to maybe only 12 minutes where they're overlapping per game at that point. maybe even a little bit less than that now I think about it. Maybe more than that, maybe a little bit more than that. But like, you're reducing the overlap at that point between LeBron and Austin Reaves on the court together. If you have to stagger them and make sure that one of them is on the court at all times, which is what they have to do right now without D'Angelo Russell on the team. So I would like them to go out and get, at the very least, another ball handler. I think another ball handler would really make sense for them and would be able to allow them to balance lineups better as opposed to what they might have to do for this little run here after acquiring Dorian Finney-Smith, a move that I think makes an immense amount of sense for the Lakers. And I really like him as an upgrade on Rui, but they have to go and do something else was my ultimate takeaway on the deal. But look, Reaves averaging 26 and 7 since he's come back from that little hip injury is absolutely a huge reason why they feel like they can play him at point guard. And why I feel like they can play him at point guard pretty consistently. He's been awesome, deserves a ton of flowers. Not an all-star player necessarily, but a guy that I think realistically could be like a number 3 guy on a conference finalist, which we've seen previously from Austin Reaves. He continues to be on this contract where he's getting paid like $12 million a year because of the archaic, ridiculous Arenas rule provisions. He continues to be, if not the best bargain in the league, maybe the best non-star bargain in the league. Certainly one of the best non-star bargains in the league at this point. He's been awesome this year, and he might be turning into a star on some level at least. Really, really great season from Austin Reaves to this point. Okay. Before we move to Victor Wembanyama on Christmas, let's take a quick second and shout out our good friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. We love PrizePicks here at Game Theory because of how easy they make it to get real money sports action. If you think Justin Jefferson is going to get more than, 85 yards or something next week when they play the Lions in an enormous game, you're going to be able to make that pick. Bryce gave out Carson Wentz next week, thinking that Patrick Mahomes isn't going to play. You're going to be able to turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks, and you're going to be able to do it in 60 seconds or less. Download the app today and use the code GameTheory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use the code GameTheory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay. Next up, we're going to dive into Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama has just been so fun this year. And now with Luka Doncic having missed a substantial amount of time or going to probably be ineligible for awards, Kevin Durant has already missed a substantial amount of time. I'm starting to wonder if Victor Wembanyama is just going to be first team All NBA this year. He is the best defensive player in the league, and he is averaging 26, 10, and 4 while also blocking 4 shots per game. In the Christmas game against the Knicks was probably the best encapsulation of that in terms of what he's capable of as a player that we have seen this year. He has consistently stepped up in the biggest moments throughout the course of his career. If you watch him, he's just a total monster. And look, like Victor had that crazy 50-point game earlier this year against Washington, but like, I kind of think 42 against the Knicks is more impressive than 50 against Washington, especially when you combine that 42 with 18 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 blocks, whereas the 50 against Washington was 6 rebounds and 2 assists and 3 blocks. I think this Knicks game is about as impressive as I have seen Victor Wembanyama play this year. He was a monster. He was unbelievable in this game. It's totally unbelievable. Really hard to overstate his impact on basketball at this point. He is a guy that is averaging 26, 10, and 4 while being the best defensive player in the NBA at 20 years old. He's 20 years old for another 4 days. It is ridiculous It is completely and utterly ridiculous what Victor Wembanyama is doing right now. There is not another way to put it. So let's dive in and talk about Victor. Early play here against the Knicks. This is just kind of an awesome set that showcases the threat of Victor's gravity. And one thing I've been thinking a lot about with the Spurs, right, is they have assembled this weird kind of group of younger players, particularly Jeremy Sohan and Stephon Castle, who are not great shooters. Sohan made 3 threes in this game, but I think he's made 5 over the course of the entire season. Castle is shooting like 29% from 3. I love that he takes them. He just needs to keep getting better at them. The way that they're building this team is going to be such a fascinating look at the power that the best floor spacing 5 in NBA history, which I think is probably what Victor is going to be, is going to provide. Does Victor, being this big of a threat as a shooter, being able to take them at volume and hit like 36, 37% from 3. And look, he's taking God knows how many threes per game, right? Like just over his last, 6 games here, he's taken over 12 threes in 4 of them. Does that account enough from a spacing perspective to allow them to be able to have multiple non-shooters on the court, to have one non-shooter on the court? In the playoffs, teams have struggled to have even one non-shooter on the court. But does his presence allow you to have multiple of those guys out there? It is by far, to me, the most interesting thing about the way the Spurs are building this team. And this play is a great example where you can see literally Chris Paul gives him this little hand wave. Hey, come back this way. And then the theory is that Victor's going to come around and this is just going to be a quick little dribble handoff, like reverse split cut kind of action. I mean, it really is just like a split action, right? Where Paul is screening away, Victor is coming toward the ball. But I don't think I've ever seen it before with a 5 coming toward the ball. In this kind of action. He sees Towns anticipate this and get up over this screen here. And Wemby's just able to dive. These are the kind of plays here where I don't think the Spurs run quite enough of, where they use the threat of Victor's shot to create him getting downhill to be able to get shots at the rim. Because he's not like a post player. He's not really a mid-post player at this point. He is somebody that can use the threat of the 3-point shot here to open up this drive here. And this is a perfect play. Just goes, finishes up over the top of Josh Hart. Josh Hart's about as tough as a guy as you can find defensively. He's a foot shorter than Victor Wembanyama. Good luck. Empty side, screen action here. Essentially get into the mid post. You reach, I teach. He feels Towns' hand. Kind of get in there, draw the foul. Kind of an example of one of those completely unnecessary Karl Towns fouls that end up getting him 3 fouls in the first half pretty regularly. I was talking about this with GMAC, fearless producer, leader of the show, really, Andrew Claudio. Devoted Knicks fan. Shout out Knicks Film School. Towns just has a consistent track record of getting 3 fouls on himself in the first half. Just needs to kind of cut that shit out, but Wemby feels it, gets the foul. I mean, this one is crazy because you can see that Wemby just like totally screws this up to start. just like totally messes this defensive coverage up. So you get a ball screen here. His angle here isn't great. He just kind of sinks off into this area. When Vassell is here and Bridges is the only guy in the corner. Because he does that, Chris Paul has to help over. Josh Hart immediately cuts because that's what Josh Hart does. As soon as somebody helps off of him, he immediately cuts always. Barnes has to tag here onto the cutter, which is going to leave OG and Anunoby wide open. Victor and Vassell are kind of guarding two guys here. You can see Wemby kind of put his hands up like, shit, I screwed up. They end up saying, okay, Vassell, you're faster. Let's have you rotate out to the corner here, or at least rotate potentially to Josh Hart, and Barnes ends up shooting out. We'll figure it out on the fly. Vassell gets here. He calls out for Barnes to go back out to the shooter. Barnes goes back out to the shooter. This is one where realistically you kind of see OG's lack of vision, which is a real factor for OG. I get that Vassell's hand is up here, but like before Vassell's hand gets there, this ball has to get shot out to the corner. It just has to. He tries to just power up through Vassell, misses, but Wemby ends up kind of going up and trying to block the shot. Then you get the second jump where Wemby just goes and gets this shot. So completely screws up this coverage. Like, this is a breakdown because of Wembanyama here. I am genuinely like really not sure where he's sinking to here. This makes no sense. And his length is such a serious impediment and is really just the great equalizer for him that it doesn't matter. He's able to go up and get the shot, and they're able to start a transition opportunity. So this one, much more solid in drop coverage here. Good slide. Cuts off the angle for Bridges. Gives Vassell time to recover. Chris Paul's here, ready to tag off of Josh Hart. They do get the ball out to Hart. Again, that's one that Hart probably has to just shoot at the end of the day. Wemby gets back. I mean, come on, guys. That's insane. That's completely ridiculous. That's so much ground coverage at the basket for a rim protector. It's just hard to overemphasize how insane that is. They end up kind of screwing it up. Hart goes to get the ball. Knicks end up recovering, scoring. But like, this rotation is completely insane. This is why he's the best defensive player in the league. You can never get a safe shot at the rim when he's out on the court, basically. If he is anywhere near the paint, it is not a safe shot at the rim. It's ridiculous. Step up screen for Chris Paul here. Wemby's just going to kind of float into that mid-range area, short roll, good little pump fake. And then you see the vision. He is slowly but surely really improving as a passer, which is the crazy thing. So pump fake. And the other thing just worth noting here is just look at how much attention the defenders pay to him already. Bridges his eyes directly on him. Anunoby's like sagging off of Chris Paul at this point. Eyes on him. Towns engaged with him. Josh Hart's kind of trying to figure out what's going on the weak side. Jalen's kind of trying to figure out what's going on the weak side. But then you get this image here where literally all of them are looking at him. All 5 dudes. This is the kind of attention and the kind of gravity that Victor Wembanyama has. He goes up like he's going to shoot this ball and everybody stops. It's rare to see Josh Hart kind of stop. And I just love that Jeremy Sohan, this is what makes Sohan so valuable and like a guy that's going to make $100 million on his next contract. He just kind of continues to sink in, get to the underside, get to the rim, finish. Perfect play. Gets around the screen here. Contests the shot from Towns. And then we're just going to filter through to the corner. I mean, this is insane. This is, I just keep saying that. Like, this is insane. So this is now what basketball is and why basketball is so fucking cool now. And I don't care what anybody says. Karl Towns is a 7 foot tall, 250 pound dude who's going to come out here off of a screen. Screen from Achua. He comes around here, gets the screen, and he's going to get a 3. Wemby does a good job of staying attached here, getting back out as a 5-man. Can you imagine these dudes from like the fucking 1990s and 1980s being able to do this? Because I certainly can't. Coming out, contesting this shot. Rebound, push. Wemby goes from filling the lane to getting out here to the 3-point line. 1-2 up and drills a 3, then goes and talks shit, I'm assuming, to Tyler Kolek. Shout out Tyler Kolek. Basketball is amazing now. The fact that these guys are 7 foot tall and can do this stuff, we should never take it for granted. There's not a second that we should take for granted watching these guys be unbelievable athletes at this height. This one, we're just running down screens for our 7'5" big man to come up, get into this mid post area, try and get a mid-range jumper. We used to do this stuff for LeBron or for Michael Jordan or whoever. Now we're doing it for 7'5" guys. It's fine. I'd like to see him make the shot, but this is just where we're at. Step up screen here. They've done a really good job of getting Steph Castle get downhill. I grabbed this one because this is something that Wemby is starting to slowly but surely improve at. This is probably the best thing I've seen from him this year in regard to this skill. Just sealing and Gortat screening, right? So he's going to screen Bridges here. I think you literally see him. No, you don't. I thought he was saying to Castle to come this way, but you do see him literally just Gortat / kind of seal Towns off here. And he also stops here and gets the bump on Bridges too. This is what Marcin Gortat made a living on in the NBA. How he was so successful for so long, being the best screener in the league, basically. This is small technical stuff, but it helps his guys, especially Castle, who needs to find routes and creases to the rim. It helps his guys get free. Amazing, amazing job here from Wemby. Ends up getting fouled. Perfect. High ball screen into a dribble handoff, into a three. Again. High ball screen. He's going to turn. And he's just going to come back around for a dribble handoff as a 7'5" dude from 30 plus feet and drill this for an early 2-for-1. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Step up. Pick and short roll. You just kind of get the stride length here, right? But you also get the fact that guys like Towns can bump him and can move him, right? So step up into a short roll. Towns does a good job staying in front, trying to get his chest into him. Doesn't quite wall up, but does a good enough job of it. And he's able to get Wemby off balance here a little bit and force a tough shot. If the strength ever comes for Wemby to where he can kind of go through dudes like that, or like be able to create an angle in a different way, maybe by extending his legs out a little bit, using that stride length, I mean, going to be literally impossible to stop at that point. It's just so awkward to guard him, I feel like. So this one, he gets like this contest here on Towns. Towns misses. Trey Jones, consummate distributor, lead guard. Gets this ball up to Wemby. And just look at where the freaking ball is here. Karl Towns is 7 foot tall, guys, or like 6'11", whatever he is. And he just has no chance to contest this ball. That's where Towns' hand is versus where the ball is. He has no chance to contest this. The ball just goes in after a weird pickup. Again, just like dribble handoff from Trey Jones to Wemby. I mean, this is an insane first half. Look at the way he gets his feet gathered and organized underneath him, gets his legs completely and utterly underneath him, balanced, drills it, 28-foot three, simple. Great drop coverage, defensive possession here. This is where his length becomes a serious impediment because it looks like there's a pocket open here for a pocket pass to Towns, but you're just always terrified that he's going to get that 8-foot wingspan right into that pocket and get the steal. Gets his arm up, gets like a slight deflection, touches off of Towns, turnover. Great work. Early screen, rebound. I mean, what are we doing, guys? Look at him just high pointing this ball. Too big. Finishes, dunks. This is one that I really liked to see. You know, even though this is early in the shot clock and we're taking like a mid-range jumper here, he feels that he has Josh Hart on him again, who he has a foot on. And he's like, okay, I'm going to take you down onto the block and I'm going to get to a spot. I'm going to kind of stride out here, get into the middle of this area here, and then you have no chance to contest my shot because you're 6'5". Holds it, gets his balance underneath him, drills it, attacking, consistently attacking. I love it. I mean, I love Jeremy Sohan so much. This is pretty hilarious. So got Precious here. He's going to end up getting this ball fairly deep for his standard. His foot's on the block. Hart decides to kind of give a quick swipe here. He feels the swipe and knows that Sohan's going to be able to go up and get this because McBride is on the other side here. It's probably slightly off target. It is probably more on Wemby here than on Sohan, that Sohan ends up front rimming this. But I love the two-man game that these two have. I love the two-man game that they have the timing down already between the two of them. Sohan has a chance to basically be like the perfect four-man for him. If the shot ever comes, I mean, my God, like he's definitely the perfect four-man for him. But even without it, like he has, I loved Sohan coming into the draft because I saw him as like this Aaron Gordon-y kind of guy. And that's basically what he's becoming for the Spurs already. And I love it so much. Rebound ends up being a turnover. Screen into a step up. Goes out, spaces it. And again, what I love here is recognizing who you end up getting on you here. So the step up. Forces Achua to stick on DePaul here. That means McBride, who's about 6'2", has to stay attached to Wemby. Wemby realizes it, flashes here, comes to get the ball, and I mean, this is just serious downhill force. Hart stays attached here. And I can't tell if this is a pass or just a miss. I do think it's a pass. Sohan goes up to get it. I love the way that he angles his screens. I love that he sets a ton of step ups already, allowing Chris Paul to get downhill. I would almost guarantee you that this stuff here, where he's trying to work with, trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to get this angle? How are we going to get our point guard downhill and get into this painted area? This is why the addition of Chris Paul has been so valuable for them. Screen, rescreen, flipping the angle, finding the right angle here. He gets the paint touch. Brunson and Towns just like totally break down here. They have no idea who's going where. Drills the three. Empty side screen. He just stays attached to Brunson. It's a good end of half play here. It's a great example of just how hard it is for a guy Jalen Brunson's size, 6'1" or 6'2" or whatever. It is just to shoot over the top of that length. Really difficult. Really, really tough. So this one, this is just like absolutely sick. So navigates all these actions on this side. I think he gets a hand on this ball to deflect it here. As you can see, his arm kind of shoots in here. A lot of guys wouldn't have the length or recovery ability to be able to get back out and get to this shot. He blocks it. He just blocks it. Gets a guy that was all NBA last year. Shout out Josh Hart continuing to fight. He ended up being the guy who fought and got them the offensive rebounds to seal the game. But the length and the ability to recover is just ridiculous for Wemby on defense. That's why all of this rim protection, the ability to get out onto shooters, the versatility he has in ball screens, to be able to play out high, to be able to get his arm into dribble handoffs and disrupt them, to be able to play, at the level versus drop coverage. All of this is why it's impossible to deal with him on defense. Step up again. He gets this switch here onto Brunson. He sees where the help is coming from, shoots this ball out. I love this one because you can see him literally just trying to figure out where the help is going to come from. I also love this little play here from Barnes. He's coming in here, cutting, sealing off Hart. If you don't think this is intentional, you're absolutely wrong. This is a smart player just sealing off a potential X out here. Once he sees the double, this is just genius from Harrison Barnes. But the thing about that I love about this from Wemby particularly is the way that he uses his length to its fullest extent here to be able to create a passing angle. He throws this ball one-handed out, up over the top of Bridges, who has super long arms, creates that passing angle, ends up being a wide open shot. Should have gone in. That was probably my favorite pass from Wemby today on Christmas, I guess. Gets in there, gets a steal. Just constantly available. He's always around, and he can always recover. It's the issue. He knows where to be defensively, and he can always recover. Yeah. Someone said, and Shaq said that he's bull. Look, I don't remember Shaq saying that. Actually, I do. I think he was saying more that, like, why can't bull like be better, more as opposed to like why can't, or like Wemby is bad, right? Yeah, look, like anybody that had ever watched Wemby versus bull would just understand the immense difference in like feel for the game and basketball IQ. They're just not comparable, unfortunately. All due respect to bull, but like, I didn't even have bull's the first round grade in the draft. Like, he didn't have any of the feel for the game stuff. He just had the shooting ability basically and the handle. So here, now we get Wemby. I just put this one on here because of the sheer audacity. He misses this. But like, okay. This isn't the tightest handle in the world. Crossover, kind of loses it. Between the legs crossover. But the standard is just lower when it's a big that's guarding you in space for you to still be able to get downhill. And B, like, the handle for him is going to tighten up over time. And then the audacity to throw up a one-legged Dirk floating, like, turns into a fadeaway kind of, and it almost goes in. He's 20 years old. He's going to make shots like that when he's 24. Like 4 years in a row. Like, you give him 4 years of development from where he is now to really figure shit out and get the game slows down for guys like Wemby's feel for the game is awesome, but the game slows down for dudes like him. when it slows down for him and he's able to start getting into those spots, I mean, good luck to everybody. This is why I say, like, good luck to the league whenever he gets stronger and whenever he gets like more comfortable. It's going to be almost impossible to deal with. So here, just kind of an example of one thing he does need to clean up. I think his closeouts can get a little bit jumpy. Like, both of his feet are off the ground here. I would like to see him just stride out here. He tries to angle him into the help, but Towns just kind of goes through his chest, right? Because he let Towns get downhill with that initial closeout. Drills it right on his head. Got to get a little bit better. Got to get stronger. That'll come. I love the action. This is the kind of stuff, again, where I just love Chris Paul goes set a screen. Wemby kind of flashes to the middle here. They've been running this a little bit out of horns this year where, you know, you'll have point guard here, you know, maybe enter it here, go around same side, set a screen, and then Wemby like come and flash and hit a high low when he's starting in the corner. This one, they kind of simplify it. You get the easy screen here from Chris Paul. Wemby comes around tightly, or as tightly as he can, with Brunson trying to bump him. And then you just use the threat of his height to be able to shoot up over the top. It's perfect. All right. Pick and pop. Misses it. Then we're back out. Got to find him. He will relocate and he will find open shots. I love here how he kind of gets back on defense at first, realizes they get the rebound, and then he's just the trailer here. He's just going to step in here, drill this. You give him time, he's going to make it. He's absolutely going to make it. Again, just the way he kind of sets up this screen, he makes it seem like he's going to set a screen for, who is that, Vassell, to come into the middle of the court. And at the last second, he flips it and gets into a step up. Again, these are just little tricks of the trade that he didn't have last year. This is why getting Chris Paul is really valuable. I would bet you that Chris Paul has worked with him possession after possession in practice to be able to figure out how to do this. Little short roll. And now we're going to get to see the full extent of the length here. Catches, pump fakes. He sees Achua's front foot come here. He knows that he can just use the length to go around this way. Great length extension and finish. He had a ridiculous one last night where he like caught the ball on the right side of the block, strided out, and then strided out again with his left foot and like threw down a left-hand dunk. And like, I didn't understand how somebody could like physically do that. That happens a lot when watching Wemby. This one, another just really fun set. I think some of this is just natural feel, but even just the way that this set sets up, I love it. So screen, screen, and I think it kind of turns into a wrap pin for Wemby to come up. Yeah. So this is a wrap pin basically. So Wemby sets this screen, Keldon wraps around and sets a pin down, and then Champagnie is still there to set a screen. And then Wemby comes around and comes to get this ball. Just creates an immense amount of confusion here. He's able to drive and get downhill now. He's got Josh Hart on him. They come around, they set this little screen here for Champagny. Towns is in no man's land here. He has no idea where he is. Keldon comes across. Hart kind of stays up here, and that just leaves Wemby wide open at the basket. I think some of this is just natural feel between, I think that's Keldon and Wemby. I think some of it is great play design by Mitch Johnson and, probably to some extent Greg Popovich, like putting these sets in early in the preseason. I love that. I love that action. Again, it's a way to get Wemby downhill, going toward the rim potentially, using the threat of his shot. So here, again, you just get to see him. Empty side ball screen. Trey Jones does a great job filtering Brunson this way. Wemby's able to get down. Contests. Perfect. Now we're just in pick and pop land again. Empty side, like pseudo step up. Him and Trey Jones, even going back to last year, have had awesome chemistry. Just great timing. Wemby drills this three. Again, I mean, this one I think counted. It's a really fun set here. So Trey Jones gets downhill off of like a little screen here from Chris Paul, who's then going to set this screen here for Wemby to come around. I mean, Chris Paul's just so good, guys. Like, I know the numbers like just don't say how good Chris Paul is. He's averaging like 9 points a game and 7 assists or whatever. But like this stuff is ridiculous. Like setting multiple screens here on multiple dudes. It's awesome. The fact that he's like 40 years old and still able to do this stuff is just such a testament to his basketball IQ. I think that might be the last one I have here. And folks are saying that shot got waved off. He would have had 45 if he'd have made that. You guys are right. Yeah, I mean, awesome basketball game. Awesome basketball game to watch. One of the most fun games again of the entire season. I thought on Christmas. Unbelievable basketball game. Because of Wemby and because of Mikal Bridges. Bridges was unbelievable in that game too. If Wemby didn't do what he did, I probably would have done a Bridges thing today, talking about how great he looked offensively in this game. And the fact that I think the Knicks are doing a better job of utilizing him more on wings defensively. But I mean, Wemby goes for 42, 18, 1, 4, and 4 or whatever it was. Come on, guys. I'm absolutely going to break that one down. It's insane. It's absolutely ridiculous. Some questions on this entire thing. What do the Spurs need to get or to trade to get better? They can't finish out games. Look, I do think that as much as I love Chris Paul, getting like a De'Aaron Foxy level playmaker would be valuable for them. Going to get like a top 25 player in the league as a perimeter player is their key. And they have the assets to do it. They'll figure it out at some point how they want to go about it. They have the pick coming from Sacramento. They have the pick from the picks from the DeJounte Murray deal still. They have like all of these assets coming their way at some point. They're going to be able to figure all of this out, I think. A couple other ones. Some stuff here. I can't remember who asked. I think I saw one on like, can Sohan and Castle play together? I mean, look, it's a big bet that they can based off the fact they drafted those guys. Maybe you move one of them in a deal for a De'Aaron Fox or somebody like that. I'm not saying specifically Fox, but like somebody like De'Aaron Fox. But it's also kind of an interesting deal trying to figure out, okay, does like the spacing that Wemby gives you at the 5 which is unlike anything we've ever seen before. Is that enough? Is that something that will make it work? Maybe. Not impossible. What if I told you the Spurs would make it to the Western Conference Finals? I don't think that will happen this year. I don't think their guards are good enough for that to happen this year. I think there's a chance they do it before the end of Wemby's rookie deal. I would say that. But there's still a couple moves away, in my opinion. I think the guys that they can win with, look, Chris Paul, I think you can win with Chris Paul as like your third guard. But like maybe not as your primary playmaker on a Western Conference Finals team, right? I think you can definitely win with Sohan. I think you can definitely win with Castle. I don't know if you can win with them together necessarily. That'll be borne out depending on how they improve as shooters, how they, continue to grow their overall games. But I trust those guys as thinkers at the end of the day. Like I think that they both process the game at such a super high level clip. They just have to figure out if they can play together. Vassell, I think you can win with. He's gotten a little bit better defensively this year, it feels like to me, which is big. Keldon, he's a bench player, like a rotation guy to me on a good team. Harrison Barnes at this point is probably more of a rotation guy on a good team. But they need that other star. Like they need that top 30 guy in the league to pair with Wemby. But the fact that they are as good as they are right now, and they are quite a good basketball team for what the talent level on this team would indicate. Like they are 16-16 right now. Yes, that's 10th in the Western Conference, but the fact that they have won 16 games with this roster is a testament to Victor Wembanyama. He's been unbelievable this year. He is a very real case for being first team All NBA right now. I think there is a real chance I would have him first team All NBA right now based off of how he's played. Incredibly, incredibly fun basketball player. Someone asked, what about Colin Sexton or Kobe White? I wouldn't bother with that style of player. I would just go get the guy at this point. Vassell has been kind of disappointing this year, injuries notwithstanding. I want to see him get healthy at the end of the day. That feels right. Zach Collins and Keldon Johnson have been horrible. Yeah. Castle has been awful, but so has every rookie. I think Castle's been really good at everything except scoring, I think is what I would say. Scoring is essential and important, but I think he's actually been quite good as an overall player. Like he defends really well. He rotates really well defensively. He passes the ball well. He consistently gets downhill pressure, which is something this team needs. Yeah, I think Castle's been just fantastic on defense and has been super valuable. Super, super valuable. Okay, so here's another comment that'll lead us into what we're going to talk about next with Tyler Herro and the Houston Rockets. Watching Amen get cooked by Tyler last night made me sad. I don't know what people watched last night thinking that Amen Thompson got cooked by Tyler Herro. He didn't. He was clearly pissed and pissed about the game and everything like that. And we'll talk about that as we kind of jump into the tape here. Because we're going to start with the fight that broke out at the end because Amen Thompson decided to just toss him like he was a professional wrestler. But we're going to dive in and talk about Herro's game because Herro has been fantastic this season. But he didn't really cook Amen. I think he scored 5 points against Amen last night. I think he went like 2 for 5 against them is what I tracked. But really, the guys that Herro cooked were Fred and Aaron Holiday more than anything. That's where Herro kind of got loose. Herro got loose off of a screen against Amen, and he got this nice drive in the first quarter where he, kind of stopped and took like a beautiful little 10-footer, 8-footer, whatever it was. But mostly he got loose against some of the other guys. And that's not to take anything against Tyler Herro. Tyler Herro, not only was he awesome last night, he had 27 points, like 8 assists. He was great, right? And was really the key reason outside of their defense that they won this game. He's been a monster here for quite a while this season. over the course of his last 15 games, Tyler Herro is averaging 25 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting 49, 40, 83. The defense is still not very good, and we'll talk about that as well. But like offensively, Herro this year is kind of what people like think Zach LaVine like might be. Like he's kind of like at that level right now as a player. Totally different than LaVine, obviously, and what he was with the Bulls. But like LaVine's been a monster scorer this year. He has been enormous and incredibly valuable this season. And that's why I wanted to break this game down, because Herro has just been a stud. And I wouldn't quite have him as an all-star in the East. I think that's something Bryce and I might do this week, is kind of break down like what our all-star teams look like. I don't think I could get Herro there over Cade. I don't think I could get him there over Garland. And honestly, I think I would still take Bam, because I think Bam's defense is better than Herro's offense. And I think that Bam's offense is also better than Herro's defense still. And I think that Bam is still probably a more valuable player overall to what the Heat do. But if you wanted to make the case otherwise, I'll at least like hear it out that Herro has been better than Bam this year. Bam's scoring has been not nearly good enough this season. But Bam's defense has just been like the game last night against Houston. Houston, for some ungodly reason, decided to attack him defensively in switches, and I was just like losing my mind. I was thinking, what in the world are these people doing right now? It was insane. It made no sense to me whatsoever. Bam is unequivocally like one of the 5 best defenders on planet Earth. Like he's not Wemby, but it's him in that next conversation for sure. It's incredible. But if you want to make the case that Herro's offense has been more important, like given that their offense is somehow 12th in the league right now, I'll hear that case out at least. I would go with Bam, but I'll hear it out. Herro's been great, and that's a testament to Herro. It's not a testament to, thinking he's bad. It's just it's where I'm at on Herro's game right now. He's been fantastic this season and is doing a great job. Let's kind of dive in and talk about this. So let's talk about first the fight. We'll start at the end, because let's just start at the end. This is what happened to get this going. So they're clearly jawing back and forth. I think they said something to one another. I don't know what was said. I don't want to pretend to know what was said. See if we can get a full photo of the toss. Just absolutely ragdolls him to the ground. I tweeted out like, I'd love to know what was said between the two of them, because like, here's the thing. Like Amen Thompson does have like moments like this where he will be physical and like, will like kind of throw like a jab or something like that. He had one in like April last year with Maxi Kleba as well, where like he kind of threw one at him in a weird spot. So like this isn't the first time this has happened with Amen, but like Amen's like a pretty low key dude. Like he plays high energy, but like, again, like you can see, like go back to the YouTube channel. Like I've talked to him before. You get a vibe of what he's like. He's like, him and his brother are super low key. They're crazy competitors. And I think it picks up on the court in some way, but he's pretty low key as a dude. So maybe Herro just like said, you lost or whatever. Like, I don't know what happened. I'm not saying that Herro said something but like real bad. I don't know, but something clearly like made Amen do this. I would love to know what. I'd be fascinated to learn more about it. I'll say that. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was nothing, by the way. Like I'll hear that out too. Maybe Herro maybe Amen just like was seeing red and decided to go for it. But Look, Amen is not the dude you want to play with. And look, now you've got Herro with a dude in front of him and like a police officer there, and then he starts talking again. I mean, I will say, I did kind of love him saying, like, go home, you lost. I thought that was pretty funny. Like, I think the actual words were funny. It's a little bit funny that, like, he waited until he had dudes in front of him. Not that I'm some tough guy, but like, I do find it a little bit funny. Here's the other thing about that too. I saw a bunch of really like Heat fans, but also like general NBA fans say stuff like, oh, like this is bullshit. Like this is what it like. How can you condone Amen Thompson doing that? Like, how can you possibly ever think that like people would be a fan of Amen Thompson for doing that? People have been begging the NBA for the last like decade and a half, it feels like, to not be so buddy. This is the byproduct of that. If that's going to happen, guys are going to get annoyed with each other. They're going to get physical. Things like this happen. It's okay. It doesn't mean that either of these people are bad people. It doesn't mean that Amen Thompson's a bad person. Just happens. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, you make a bad decision. It's okay. And by the way, like, for the same reason that I think Amen Thompson probably won himself a ton of fans for life last night, for like Houston Rockets fans and where like people around the league that want toughness back in the league. I think Terry Rozier probably won himself a bunch of fans on the Miami side for sticking up for his guy and getting Amen down on the ground too. Like, it's not just Amen. It's a combo of everything to me. I'm for it. Like, I'm for these dudes fighting and scrapping, and I had no problem with like Najee Marshall's thing, and Yusuf Nurkic's thing. I'd like suspend them, let them move on, right? It's a bad decision because you're going to lose a bunch of money, but if you're willing to lose the money, okay, go for it. Let's get into what made Herro's game so special, though. So here, this is the one that really got him going 3 minutes in. He gets Jabari Smith on him. Again, this little pullback here is pretty nasty. Just zooming back. I mean, that's tough. That's real tough to guard, guys. That's some suddenness. I think Herro has way more suddenness than what people give him credit for. We know that he can move really well off the ball. But I think on the ball, there's some real quickness. This is awesome. Just a quick little entry. And then he cuts. Knows that Şengün is going to have to step up here as soon as he cuts. This one to me is really on Fred. And I think Fred's been a really, really good defender. But as soon as Şengün steps up here, Fred can't follow Herro. Fred has to get out to the shooter here. Instead, he doesn't. Ends up being a wide open three. Great kick out from Herro, realizing that Fred was going to follow him. This one, look, I'm going to call out some of the bad stuff with Herro defensively, particularly with screens. But I do want to say that, like, I think he's been a little bit better defensively this year. Like, I thought he was like really, really tough to have on the court at times the last couple of years. But there are moments this year where, like, if you get him on the right dude, like, look, he's like sliding with Jabari Smith here. Beats him to the spot, beats him to the spin, contests. You get the contest help from Haywood Highsmith. That's pretty good. And he goes to get the rebound. Been a really good rebounder this year, too. Still the first quarter. Just a quick little like ghostish kind of screen here. Again, kind of like the Reaves game that we broke down earlier. I thought a lot of Herro's best passes in this game just didn't get assists because guys missed. So a little ghost from Bam into a roll. Herro drives. I think he's just counting defenders here. 1, 2, 3. And then the fourth one here. The corner man is staying to the corner instead of shooting up to the wing up here. As soon as he realizes that, he knows he has the wing wide open. Shoots it up to the wing. Shoots it down to Rozier. Rozier just misses. That's a good pass. That's a really, really good pass. So this is one of the ones where Herro did catch a man. So again, a really good screen from Bam. Doesn't really even make contact, but just leaves early and kind of forces Adams to kind of open up a little bit. Amen gets back. And Herro just kind of beats Amen here. And then does an amazing job of using his shoulder here. To mess with Thompson's timing. Watch the way he kind of decelerates here as well. I'll get a better look at that. Let's see if we can rewind that again. Stops there. Amen kind of flies by a little bit. And that's a lot of separation, even for a great defender like Amen Thompson. I think Amen's been, if not the best perimeter defender in the league this year, certainly in the top 3. That's a really good play against Thompson. That's really good. Gets him stuck on the ground. Beautiful little shot. I think this from Mr. Ray is ultimately the key with Tyler Herro's game. Always does a great job staying on balance. Always on 2 feet. Always ready to play with touch. He plays through contact a little bit better than what I think he gets credit for. I think he is a fantastic, fantastic scorer and continues to be one. This one, again, just beats Jabari off the bounce, right? So just look at the setup here. I wouldn't even argue that it's much of a setup, right? Like he just kind of goes between the legs and just says, I can beat this guy. Beats him. One hand gather here. Really, the one hand gather, in my opinion, is to make sure that Thompson can't get there more than anything. Goes up, finishes high off the glass. It's an excellent shot. That's 7 points now. Early exit screen. Great pass here. This one to me is more on Adams. I have not been particularly impressed with Steven Adams so far this year. To me, Adams has to at least give a little bit more of a presence here. I get it that Ware is coming downhill, but you have to trust that your defender on the backside is going to be there on some level. He just gave Amen no chance to get back into this play. And then he gets beat with Khalil Ware getting behind him on the play anyway. This is just, I love Steven Adams. He seems like one of the coolest dudes in the league. He could break me in half if he wanted to. But I have not been impressed with Steven Adams this year. Just haven't. This is one where I think you get an example really of the defensive stuff that I worry about with Herro come high leverage moments. Fred's going to miss this shot. But Herro kind of goes for the ball here, I think. And it results in him taking just an egregious route around this screen. He's all the way over here. And then having to route back into this thing. He's just nowhere in this play. Fred misses it. Fred's been in a weird prolonged shooting slump that I don't know what to do with at this point. But those are the things where, like, against teams like Boston, the Cavs particularly, New York, if he has to guard one of, Brunson or Bridges or somebody like that, that's where that stuff's going to come up. And I still think it's not great yet from Herro, but the offense is so good that you have to have him on the court. So just a little down screen here. This one's just kind of a really good example of him playing off of 2 feet, right? I think Adams actually does his job here. I would like to see Amen slip even quicker onto Bam here. Herro's on plays off 2 feet, jumps right up, but he's still on balance. He still has his vision here. Sees that Amen's back is turned. He's able to go just left hand into Bam here. This is awesome. Bam with the easy finish. It's awesome. It's really good. It's not like it looks, like the smoothest, most fluid thing that you see, but because he always plays off of 2 feet and has his balance, it's easier for him. So this one, again, just like a defensive example here, because really you shouldn't have to send help against Dylan Brooks. I would hope that, Haywood Highsmith looks back on this and probably doesn't love this. I can't imagine this is in their scheme. But like, you think that Herro here is just kind of getting buried, which makes like the help rotation come. Again, Herro just not super strong. This ends up just being a quick reversal here from Fred. It's a ball that should be a make. But then you get a little bit more of the creativity from Herro here in transition. I love this so much. Just this little pass fake out here. Watch Dylan Brooks. Whoop. Then he's going to go baseline. Recognizes that Fred's not going to be able to do a whole lot against him. Up and under. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Again, Thompson here. This time he gets fouled on it. This is like kind of the first example of why I think the officials kind of let this game get a little bit out of hand physicality wise. I'm for physicality. This is just a foul out front from Amen. The first one. And then you call the second one where I think he got him clean up top. Like, I think that he actually does just block this ball. And I'm guessing that they're calling the contact on the body. But I don't know why you don't call the one out front, but then call this one. I'm just like a little bit confused on the officiating in this game. Great drive from Herro. Gets Amen kind of off balance here to start, right? That little fake there in order to get downhill to his left. I mean, Amen like clearly has to bump him here. He like has to hand check him like pretty full scale in order to slow him down. He recovers back, but yeah, it's a good play from Herro. It's a really, really good play from Herro to get by Amen like that. Rebound, and now we're pushing with Herro. Third quarter. Just absolutely cooks Fred. This is not what Fred particularly excels at on defense. Beautiful little setup here with the shoulders, hesitation, crossover, bam. Now we're downhill. Blows by, ball pickup. Pickup is still probably a little bit farther from the rim than what I would like to see from Herro, just in terms of consistency as a finisher, right? Those longer pickups typically mean that if you have a longer defender, he's probably going to be able to cause you some issues around the basket. And that is really the one place where Herro has not been great this year as an offensive player. He's only made 51% of his shots at the basket this season. You know, this is a cross. He picks it up here. I would say he should take one more dribble down to here, and then he'll be able to stride it out and get all the way to the rim and be a little bit more of a consistent finisher. This one goes in, though. You don't want to, you know, harp on it too much, right? So here, Jabari Smith just kind of tries to fit this into a tight window. I see what he's seeing here. He's seeing that Fred's back is turned this way and that Haywood Highsmith is wide open. The reason that Alperin is over here is because Fred is, you know, this is a mismatch, and I think they want to get Fred out to Haywood Highsmith. This is just a good reaction from Fred. I don't mind this pass. It's a turnover, but I think it's like ultimately fine in the grand scheme of things. It's just a split second too late. But I see the vision and I see what he's going for. Just ends up being a turnover. I'm all about process versus results, really. That's the key here. This one, you know, you kind of get to see, like, it's not like Herro has like the tightest handle in the world. Does a great job just throwing this ball out. I love that. Throw the ball out there. Allow yourself to turn the corner against Şengün. Ball ends up getting a little high on him. You get this little screen here from Bam to kind of seal off the rotational defender. And that means Şengün's going to have to stick here. Kevin Love realizes that he's going to have this open, wide open, this laneway to be able to come down and get downhill. Gets fouled. Perfect. Again, Herro could have had like 10 or 12 assists in this game. I wanted to put this one on here because, look, he fouls him, but I thought this was actually a pretty good defensive possession again from Herro. Does end up kind of letting himself get high here, in part because I think he thinks he has the Haywood Highsmith help and because he just gets crossed up on some level. But up until then, it was like pretty okay defensively. I like how he recovers, just ultimately kind of gets himself a little bit too far with his shoulders out in front of his body here. Let's see if I can grab, or shoulders out too far in front of his feet. Right. Right when like Jalen kind of went into him here. It's like this frame right before that. But yeah, you know, look, he's going to get beat off the bounce sometimes. He was okay up until that moment where he got beat. I guess everyone is, though, right? This one, some degree of over dribbling this year. I wouldn't say it's like aggressive. I would say it's way more in the games where Jimmy doesn't play. In the games where Jimmy doesn't play, he is just responsible for almost everything they do offensively. If Rozier doesn't have it, especially Rozier was pretty good last night, but like if Rozier doesn't have it on that given night, it gets real hard for them. This one, you know, probably just over dribbles a touch. Kind of tries to pick this ball up. I think as soon as he sees Fred kind of come in here, you probably just want to shoot that ball out to Haywood Highsmith a little bit quicker. Instead, he tries to like gather and go up. He's on balance. He just kind of tries to get him, just kind of over penetrates here to be, it's more probing than over dribbling. Yeah. Like it's more like it's over penetrating into the lane here to me. He gets himself surrounded by three guys. He's still on balance. It's just, when you're surrounded by three guys, it doesn't really matter if you're on balance. If you can't make the kick out, ends up being a jump ball. This one, just awesome relocation. You can literally see him just relocating to the corner early as this ball goes up. It's barely out of Kevin Love's hands here. Haywood Highsmith is diving behind an unsuspecting Jalen Green here. People wonder why Jalen Green, despite being an elite athlete, does not get more rebounds. Pretty good example right here. Jalen Green averaging 4.4 rebounds per game. Maybe don't just stand there and watch Kevin Love shoot a mid-range jumper that's contested. Maybe, hey, let's go get a body on somebody. Highsmith goes to get this. Easy kick out because Herro has relocated. Super smart, super effective. This is the second one where I think Amen gets toasted here. So just split cut, right? Entry in. Herro goes away. Then as a counter to a split a lot of the time. You'll come around and flip this. Where Ware comes in, screens Amen. The other thing that I think Herro does really, really well, I think he does an amazing job of coming off of screens tightly and making it really hard for the trailing defender. Like Khalil Ware is not a great screener, but because Herro comes off of this screen so tightly, Amen gets clipped here. This is perfect. And just drills the shot. Money. I mean, that's the last bucket he scores against Amen, I believe. And it's 4 minutes left in the third. So Amen didn't get cooked by him. I just don't know what happened there at the end. This one. I mean, look, like, I just don't think this is good defense, personally. Just allows Aaron Holiday to get all the way into the restricted area here. Kind of ends up quitting on the play a little bit. It's probably unfair to say full scale quit on it. But like, if this is a better player than Aaron Holiday, like he would play in the playoffs, this shot is in. This is just a made basket, right? And he goes to get the rebound. I love that he goes to get the rebound. Now we're going to start coming down the court. Gets fouled with this quick gather. I love his quick gather game around the rim. I think it's really helped him draw more fouls this year. Herro this season, averaging 4.1 free throws per game, as opposed to his career average, which is 2.7. So just much better at that this year. But again, defensively, like there are concerns for him in the playoffs, as there have been for a while now. But he's also a killer. Like, I think everybody remembers his rookie year in the playoffs where he was just an assassin, right? So you have to have him out there. It's just you have to account for it on some level. Like, I would love to see this version of Tyler Herro in the playoffs. That'd be amazing to me. This version with the mentality that he has, like his fearlessness, his attack-oriented game, I would love to see that. That'd be amazing. Here, again, just kind of gets cooked on a screen, unfortunately. This one's a Steven Adams screen. I'm a little bit more willing to like understand that you think you're about to get destroyed here. But like Adams exits this early, right? And he just is already like full scale chase mode, pumping his arms, running downhill toward the rim, trying to get back in front, and never really does. But here we've got Thompson on Herro, doubling him. Fantastic vision from Herro here. They decided to put 2 on the ball. I think they put 2 on the ball largely just because they weren't real worried about whatever Khalil Ware was doing in this game. This is a really slick move here from Nikola Jovic, setting this little down screen, or not down screen. That's a, what is that? That's just going to be like a baseline screen. And Herro finds this open angle here. This is just a monster screen from Jovic. This is a monster screen. I love it so much. Great vision from Herro to find the shooter. Burks drills it. Perfect. If a team is going to put 2 on the ball against you, that's how you attack it. Shout out to Jovic for a beautiful off-ball screen. Nobody is going to ever, this is never going to be accounted for in the stat sheet. But this screen here sets up this entire play. It's the whole reason that they score on this play, along with Herro's vision. So here, middle ball screen, beautiful pass. Again, they're putting 2 on the ball here. This is not a tight pocket. This is actually like a fairly difficult pass, I think, to make. This is a high degree of difficulty pass, and Herro somehow finds it. This is an awesome pocket pass. This is really hard, and this is where, if you are going to put 2 on the ball, I mean, this is where Khalil Ware can be immensely effective, because he does have enough coordination and enough explosiveness to be able to get downhill and finish in these situations, even catching the ball that high. Perfect counter to the defense they're running there, and a great pocket pass from Herro. I mean, this one, again, if you're going to put multiple bodies on the ball, again, the suddenness to kind of separate there, create this much separation from Holiday, that's what sets up this screen. It makes Adams really commit out high here. That early little bit of separation that Herro gets, Adams has to commit here. And now Khalil Ware is downhill as a rim runner again, right? Dylan Brooks is going to have to tackle his ass to be able to stop him from getting to this ball. Perfect from Herro there. The suddenness, though, early to set up the screen is the thing that won't get noticed there, though, that is really the key to setting that entire lob play up. Again, quick vision. I think Herro's a really good transition player. Eyes are up constantly. Look where this ball is. Right in the shooter's pocket. Setting Jovic up. Momentum going toward the rim. This is fantastic. Great play from Herro. This one just beats Holiday. Just beats him. I like that little extended arm there, just to get that little bit of separation. And then he's downhill. Floater. Beautiful shot. Absolutely beautiful. Herro this year hasn't taken a ton of floaters, but he's made 65% of them in that like little mid-range area in the paint. Real touch on that shot. This one, again, Just kind of gets beat. Holiday does a great job of angling him into this screen here. And I will give him credit here. I think he actually is engaged and stays attached here off the ball. In previous years, that has been a bit of a concern with him. It's just off the ball staying attached. But on this one, he does like a pretty good job staying attached here. The problem is that he just gets beat. And then once he gets contacted on that screen, he goes all the way out here. He's not super strong. That's the reason that bucket happens. This one, awesome contested rebound against Şengün. Absolutely awesome contested rebound here. Goes and gets it. And then we're just going to get into a quick little two-man game with Bam here. This is one where I don't totally love what Şengün does defensively. He kind of steps back a little bit too far here, in my opinion, and gives him that early little ability to get back for this step back here to separate. Brooks does get back into this play, but I would like to see Şengün not step all the way back first and then come forward like this. Just allows Herro to get into rhythm, drills it. Perfect. Now we got a men on Herro. Forces the peel. Brooks ends up on Herro here. I love the vision here. Again, just look at this screen from Jovic. Beautiful wraparound from Herro. Great play from Tyler Herro. I don't want to take anything away from him. Again, these little screens here from Jovic are so awesome. Jovic is a guy I probably have to do a video on at some point. I am such a fan of what he does for Miami. I think they're so much better, it feels like, when he's on the court versus when he's off the court. Not only is like a dribble pass shoot guy at 6'10" or whatever, but like makes all the little plays and stuff. I love what Jovic does. Great pass, falling out of bounds, great wraparound, creates the angle there. Great play from Herro, but man, Jovic is sick. This one tries to attack Jalen Green to start. Makes sense. Jalen's been an okay on-ball defender. Ends up getting a switch. Amen gets the deflection here, gets it back out. Great closeout from Amen. Ends up being a weird foul call. Probably a fair foul call in all honesty, because it's Şengün that ends up kind of raking down on the arms. This is just kind of a bad decision from Şengün, in my opinion. You have Amen here. You have Fred here. Just no reason for this. No reason. Now you've got the switch from Herro onto Şengün. Amen just flies at him. They put two on the ball. Great pass. Just misses it. Trying to avoid Şengün and mismatches as much as possible. Again, stuff like this is why I have more concerns about him in the playoffs than what I think a lot of Rockets fans do. I know he's been okay defensively in structure this year, but like teams will genuinely try to attack him more consistently in the playoffs than what they do now. And if you're forced to bring a second guy against NBA playoff caliber decision makers, they're always going to find this open man. It's just the reality. Dylan Brooks is where he has to be on some level. Actually, that's a lie. Dylan is not where he has to be. Dylan over pursues here, thinking the ball's going to Bam or to Jovic maybe. Really, Dylan should just kind of be in the middle of these two as opposed to where he ends up, which is like in this area. But a great pass here. Wide open three, just misses it. And look, a big part of why the Heat came back and won this game, you can see the scores like 93-92, 94-93 now. Houston just had no answers offensively in this game. But Herro did. He had the answers. This one tries to cross over. Great contest from the men. That was actually, I think, their last possession, really, where they guarded. Maybe not. Might be this one. No, they switched on this one. That's right. That was like the real last like matchup between the two of them before they got in that little fight. So, yeah, I don't know what that was. This is just an insane shot from Herro. Completely ridiculous shot. Gets Fred on the switch, just beats him. Elevates over the top of him. He's just feeling it right now, guys. Like overall, as a player, Tyler Herro is just straight up feeling it. And now we got Jalen Green. Just misses the floater, but look, the reason the Heat won this game is Tyler Herro doing what Houston couldn't do. And Bam. I will say too, like Houston's continual decision to attack Bam was insane, as I mentioned earlier. But Herro's ability to create shots was absolutely the biggest reason they won this game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Without Herro, no chance they win this game. And Herro's run has been amazing over the course of the year and deserves a ton of credit for continuing to improve. I'm interested to see like kind of what the selectors in the Eastern Conference do versus him versus like a third Cavalier. Like, does Evan Mobley make the team over him? Does Garland make the team over him? I would have Garland ahead right now, but I'll hear out a case for Herro. Does Franz Wagner get back in time? Because Franz definitely should be there over Herro. Franz has been unbelievable this year, but he's going to miss a lot of time. What do you do with somebody like Derek White? Do you put 3 Celtics on and Tatum, Brown, and Derek White? All this stuff will get sorted out, I think, in time, obviously. We'll see what ends up happening with Eastern Conference All-Stars. Herro's in the mix. I'd have him in the top 16 or so. LaMelo's another guy. I probably would have Herro ahead of LaMelo, if I'm being honest. I know LaMelo's averaging far more points. I just think Herro's efficiency is way better. I don't even know if that bears out statistically, but it feels that way in terms of turnovers, in terms of true shooting percentage, like maybe. So Herro's at 62.3 true shooting right now. LaMelo is at, let's see here. Yeah, 55.7. The turnover rate for LaMelo, it feels like, ends up being quite high. 4.1 turnovers per game for LaMelo versus 2.5 for Herro. Yeah. I probably personally would have Herro. I also think Herro is a better defender than LaMelo too, personally. So that's one name I would have Herro ahead of. But I also don't know if you can put 2 Miami Heat guys on the All-Star team either this year. Trae Young is another conversation. Trae has been unbelievable as a passer and playmaker, even without the shooting, being quite as good as it's been in the past. Yeah, I mean, the guard picture in the Eastern Conference is fascinating right now. We'll talk about that more probably on Thursday this week with Bryce. We'll run through and talk through Eastern Conference All-Stars. Herro feels like he's somewhere in that like 10 to 16 range right now. If you put him on, I wouldn't blame you, but probably wouldn't be what I would do. One guy who I do think should be at All-Star weekend is Ajay Mitchell. Not necessarily as an All-Star, certainly not as an All-Star, but should be in the, whatever the hell we're doing with the rookie sophomore game now. I truly have no idea, given that they've now changed the format of the All-Star game. Assuming we're doing rookies and sophomores, Ajay Mitchell should 100% be in the mix for that selection. He's been one of the 10 best rookies this year. No question in my mind. Mitchell's averages don't look great, right? He's averaging 6 points, 2 rebounds, 1.7 assists, but he's shooting 51, 47, 81. He's the backup point guard on a team that is 26-5, averaging 16 points a game. He's played every game on a two-way contract, by the way. Has a true shooting percentage is 6 points above league average. Seems to rarely turn the ball over. And it's just been such a fantastic, fun rookie. Look, that's another guy I interviewed on this channel. You can go back and you can watch the Ajay Mitchell interview from his pre-draft stuff. Really fun dude. Really engaging player. Really engaging personality as well, is one other thing I would say. Like, has this just quiet confidence that you kind of see bear itself out on the court as well. He never looks flustered, never looks worried about anything. So let's talk about Ajay Mitchell. Terrific rookie for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's still on a two-way deal, but has been one of the 10 best rookies in the NBA this season. So Mitchell here, just going to get a quick little view of the shot. It's beautiful. It's pristine. Was never like a knockdown guy at UC Santa Barbara for some reason, but the touch always looked great and the mechanics look great. I kind of figured that it would figure itself out. I didn't know if it would figure itself out this early, but I'm not super surprised because the shot looks like it should really work. I should also note, I ended up with Mitchell as a first round grade. I really liked Ajay Mitchell a lot. I think I had him at 29 or 30 on my board, something like that. A really, really just outstanding, highly intelligent playmaker, in my opinion, that has a real chance to be effective. So here, defensive possession, he's up and down defensively. I think he generally kind of does the right thing on that end. He knows where he's supposed to be. This is a pretty good example of that. There are just like physical limitations that pop up as you see here. But like this one here. He's on Scottie Pippen. He's in the corner. Oklahoma City doubles the ball. Kaysen ends up kind of going for a steal. He comes up. The way that Oklahoma City's defense works, this looks like a blow by, but it's kind of not. On guys shooting up from the corner to the wing, they want you to deny the corner pass and force the drive because they know that they have middle help here. So this looks like a blow by. It kind of is, but it's kind of not. He gets back into the play. He's in perfect position to shoot out for a kick out if Kennard kicks it out to Scottie Pippen here. He sinks on to Desmond Bane. Tries to get a body on Bane. I mean, Bane is just like the Hulk shooting guard, though, and is able to throw him off, get the bucket and the foul. There are physical limitations for sure. He's like 6'4", 6'5", but doesn't have super long arms. Not super strong yet necessarily. There are going to be possessions like this, but I like that he knows what he has to do, and I like that he knows the assignment. That's really the thing that always pops up with Mitchell. He knows the assignment every time you watch him. This one filters through with the cutter, right? They have 2 on the ball. 1, 2, which means that Mitchell has to be somewhat accountable here while also being able to get back onto his man. Make sure that Kaysen Wallace is able to recover while also being accountable here for the cutter. Again, Oklahoma City's defense just moves so synchronously and is so beautiful. Wing defender is available here on the cutter. Lets Mitchell recover, gets back out onto the wing. I think that's Wiggins. Wiggins gets beat again toward the middle. Mitchell steps up. Shea should be there to help the helper. He is there. Mitchell deflection. Steal. Run out. Little floater. Misses it. Gets the ball back out. One thing that I do love about Mitchell too are his gathers toward the basket. Does a great job using his footwork. Does a great job using his frame. Protecting the ball. Making sure he can go up and score. DHO. Into a double screening action here for Isaiah Joe. This is just sick. Sick set. Entry. Screen here. Hartenstein comes down, screens. Shea screens here-ish, something like that. Isaiah Joe is going to come all the way around again. Just a sick set. I mean, this staff is awesome. I know that I didn't love what they did in the Milwaukee game for the NBA Cup, but I mean, just an awesome set. I think that staff is so good. They do such a good job of getting these guys prepared to play. Again, just simple stuff defensively. Keeps himself in the gap here. Active, arms waving. Gets back out, closes out under control. Stays in front of Laravia, switches on to Scottie Pippen here. Walls up. Everything until the final product. Absolutely stupendous defensive possession until the foul. Walls up again. And just gets those hands just right in there. Can't happen. And he knows it. He's frustrated. See him clap here. Man, it was perfect up until that last second. Just two of my absolute favorites in the 2024 NBA draft right here. The icon Cam Spencer and Ajay Mitchell. Love them both. Shout out Cam Spencer. I grabbed this one. I think he makes this one, but I grabbed this one just to show how smooth the feet are. Look at the shot prep here. He catches, ball's a little high, but his feet are already down. Elbow's about to be perfectly aligned to the rim. Flips this ball up, drills it. The shot prep is so good now. That's been the big fix for Mitchell. He looks so much cleaner in terms of his shot prep. Again, just like the Oklahoma City defense swarms everywhere. Laravia comes in. And now you've got Ajay Mitchell having to switch on to Jaren Jackson and just watch him fight to get in front here. Fights to get in front. You have Shea behind, making sure that he's there just in case they decide to throw this ball up over the top. That's great denial defense from Mitchell. Then just like an automatic switch here where he goes on to Concher. Hartenstein is going to go on to Jaren in theory, but he's actually going to just be available for the drive here. I get why Spencer throws this ball, but perfect timing. Perfect timing from Mitchell here. Gets down, gets the steal. He does all the little things, guys. This is why he's a valuable player. This one, look, we're still not out of hand yet. This game does get out of hand, but we're still not there yet. I love his suddenness with his crossovers. That's what he was really good at UCSB, which we haven't really gotten to see a crazy amount of yet in the NBA. Super sudden. Not the fastest guy, but changes speed super well. Gather toward the rim again. Like we just mentioned, the gathers with Herro, but Mitchell has always been elite with his gathers. Great footwork around the basket. So Mitchell here, uptight on Desmond Bane. No worries. Great defensive possession here near the end of the third quarter, I believe. This game is now out of hand officially. Does a great job staying tight. Fourth quarter starts now. For some ungodly reason, Shea is still on the court. I mean, just the shoulders, the hesitation, the suddenness. Look at that. Jay Huff has no chance. Forces the help from Spencer, but look, it's just Hartenstein's wide open at the rim. There's nothing you can do about that, right? Great dump off. Just always ready to fire. That's why I put this one on here. He misses it. But again, the shot prep is perfect. Feet are already down. They're already organized. Perfect alignment toward the rim for him. Goes up, just rims out. But that's why he's become a much better shooter. This one just totally turns the corner, flips this ball out to Aaron Wiggins. Wiggins misses. This is some G League-y basketball now with Castleton and Cam Spencer and some of these guys out there. But look, if you look like you're the best player on the court like he did against G League competition, which this sort of was, with Jay Huff and Yuki out there, like that still says something. Turns the corner, forces three guys into the paint. Just misses. It's a great pass, though. Great process from Mitchell. Again, just great process, finding the open man, drawing two defenders toward him, using his pivot here. Perfect. Can't do it much better than that. Mitchell coming down again. Into the pick and pop. Now we get the kick out. Now we get the swing. Drills the three. I mean, he just like completely dictated this fourth quarter, I thought, even with it being a game that was completely out of hand, right? Perfect little pass out here. Loves that little left-hand wraparound live dribble pass. Drives. Williams hits the kick out. Forces the X out from Spencer. And again, just wide open three. He nails it. Ajay Mitchell had 17 in this game. Those 17 also came with 3 assists and a rebound and just really good defense. Just really solid defense throughout the game. Horn set. Mitchell comes up. You get a screen from the original ball handler, second screen at the elbow. This is where he was absolutely lethal at UC Santa Barbara. And what I'm really interested to see if can ever come along. So screen here from Wiggins for Mitchell to come across. He's going to get the ball. Kaysen is then going to screen here. Wiggins is going to turn and screen here. And it's basically going to turn into a double drag for him to get an elbow jumper. against a guy in Jay Huff that you know is playing a deep drop. Drills it. If he has that stuff too, and he definitely is the mid-range jumper, I think there's some upside beyond just backup point guard here with Mitchell. He's very skilled and he thinks the game at a super high level. Speaking of thinking the game at a super high level, really sharp cut here. That's why I wanted to put this one on. He sees Concher here, just totally ball watching. Concher even looks at like this. This is an incredible move from Concher. Concher's even looking at him. He's looking at him. He's looking at his guy. He's like, oh yeah, this is fine. This is still good. Oh shit. No, wait, it's not good. This is bad. He goes up and gets the block anyway, though. It's a good play. Yeah, I'm an enormous fan of Mitchell. I've been an enormous fan. I had a first round grade on him, like I said. I think there's some upside beyond just like, you know, backup point guard like he's been for Oklahoma City. Does he remind you at all of Jalen Brunson? Look, that's long been the name that comes up in scouting circles, just in terms of style. I totally get it from a stylistic perspective. I don't think it's like an unfair thing to say necessarily. The difference between AJ and Jalen is Jalen's frame has always just been so much stronger. And I think he does a bit of a better job of being able to separate, and always has done a bit of a better job of being able to separate. Jalen's in-between game has always been a little bit better with those like little floaters and little just like touch shots around the basket. Whereas AJ has always been a guy that's like kind of gathered and tried to extend and finish toward the rim. Right. And as we saw with that play against Concher, it can be a little bit harder to do that in the NBA because of the length. Look, again, I just said that I think the upside is a little bit higher than, you know, maybe just like a backup point guard. I think he could be like a low end starter at some point. But I'm really interested to see what they do with him, because he has played 31. Two-way guys can play 50. They're going to have to convert him. Like, he's indispensable for them as a backup point guard, and he's super cheap. Now the question is, like, if you're him, this is where it gets like really fun. Do you just like take like a 1-year conversion and hit restricted free agency and see if someone gives you a bunch of money, given that they're going to have to extend Chet and J-Dub this summer? Or do you take like a 3-year deal, convert it at like a reasonable number, or at the minimum? Like, it really just might be at the minimum, in all honesty. Do you trust the organization that's like put trust in you, allowing you to run with the backup point guard spot? It's always a really tenuous, tough choice for these guys, I think, who end up being two-way guys, younger guys. If I was him, I probably wouldn't want to sign more than a two-year deal. I wouldn't want to get stuck on one of those like Isaiah Joe deals. I would want to try and Isaiah Joe turned into a 4-year, $40 million guy or whatever. But, you know, he was on like a 4-year minimum deal before that with the Sixers, and then the Thunder picked up that contract on waivers. Man, I don't know. It's a tough call. It's a tough call for Mitchell. I'm fascinated to see how they go about converting him, though. And I'm fascinated to see if they just put the trust in the organization. I think basically every team in the league would love to have him at this point. So, look, he's a restricted free agent for 3 seasons too. So it's not like he can go and hit the open market like in unrestricted free agency for 3 years. I don't know. If I'm the Thunder, I think that they have their mid-level exception, if if I remember correctly. I can look that up while we're talking, but I could have sworn that they had their mid-level exceptions still for this year, maybe. And they have a ton of space before the second apron. So like maybe you do try and give him like a bit of that money. They have their room exception still. They have 8 million that they could spend. So maybe you do something like 3 years, 7.5 million or something. Even if you get them at 2.5, like you're ecstatic having a backup point guard at 2.5 million. It's a huge win for everybody involved. It's a huge win for Ajay Mitchell. It's a huge win for the Thunder. I don't know. That feels getting him like some real guaranteed money feels like a win. He doesn't have a ton of leverage just because he's a restricted free agent and all of that stuff. But like, yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what it looks like. Basketball Genesis says, if only Presti used his late first round pick on Mitchell. Yeah, I mean, I had Mitchell ahead of Dylan Jones, so I don't know what to say there. Do you see where Coach Mark said Sam Presti found AJ? I mean, look, like there's no finding this guy. Like John really found the coach of the Perth Wildcats. Like he's the one that like originally scouted AJ back in Belgium and like, you know, recruited him to UC Santa Barbara, right? And really is a great evaluator. He's done a great job finding guys over the years. I mean, I'd imagine that Sam probably found him, you know, maybe early in Belgium or at UC Santa Barbara. Like he played 3 years in college. Like there wasn't really finding him. You know what I mean? It was, you know, I think really did the key work here of evaluating him and getting him to the United States when he was a college coach. So yeah, not to disrespect Sam Presti. Sam's the best GM in the league. Does a great job, but yeah, I don't know if there's finding him, unfortunately. That's all we got though. We went super long today. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I'm a little bit out of practice in terms of getting these things in and out in 2 hours when I do 4 players, an hour and a half when I do 3 players. I appreciate all y'all for coming out, hanging out, having a good time. Apparently I'm from the South now saying y'all. Don't know where that came from. It's been 2.5 hours, guys. We'll be back probably on Thursday, potentially Wednesday. There's a chance I'll do like a New Year's Day one. The problem with the New Year's Day one is that Ohio State plays Oregon. And I will probably want to watch that in the morning. So I don't know if I'll have time to watch like and grind through a bunch of tape. But the plan for me is to do one more of these this week and to do a Bryce podcast. We'll figure out the timing on all of it over the course of the next couple of days. But I appreciate all you guys for coming out and hanging out. We'll be back later this week with more. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.